Hello, everyone. Thanks for jumping in this webinar. We will be starting at 2, so in about 10 minutes. So just stay on. You can just stay on and we'll get started then. Hello, everyone. Thank you guys for joining. We will be starting at 2, so we still have a couple of more minutes. So just hang tight and we'll start at 2. Thanks. Okay, welcome everyone. Hello, hello. Hope you guys are doing well. So we're going to go ahead and get started. It is 2 o'clock on the dot. So welcome to our resume and VMock webinar with the College of Business Career Center. So quick introduction for me. I am your speaker for today. My name is Giselle Wilson. I am the BBA career coach for the College of Business for the University of Houston downtown. I'm so glad that all of you guys are joining today. A little background, I have over 5 years of career development experience with a background in marketing as well. And in today's webinar, we're just going to go over the importance of resumes and how we can use our resume to further our career and get the position or the job that we want to gain. So on the agenda for today, we're going to talk about the importance of resumes, best practices, some resources, and we're going to do a Q&A session at the end as well. So couple of housekeeping. You can submit all of your questions in the Q&A feature on Zoom. So on the bottom of your screen, you should see Q&A, and you can submit all your questions there. And at the end of the session, I'm going to go through and try to answer those questions as well. So feel free to drop your questions whenever you do have a question throughout the webinar. I will be monitoring those questions. And if it's something that I can answer really quick, and then I'll try to answer it, but mostly all the questions will be answered at the end. Okay, so let's start off with a poll. So I want to know why you guys are attending the session. So what is your plans for your resume? What are you trying to gain from attending today's webinar? Okay, so it looks like majority of everyone wants to learn how to make their resume better. Great. And that's just a thing that we're always going to be doing. We're always going to be learning how to make our resumes better. Resumes will always be changing. A couple people want to know if they're missing anything on their resume. Great. We're going to go over that just in case you are. And you're here, some other people, they're just here wanting to learn, and that's great as well. So let's get on. So for right now, if you have a resume, I want you guys to think, does my resume pass the 10-second test? So what that is, employers tend to use about, average is like 6 to 8 seconds, but usually no more than 10 seconds to review your resume. So that's not a lot of time at all. It's super fast. So you want to make sure that your resume can pass that 10-second test. So what employers are using now, along with, of course, reviewing your resume manually, is they're using computer programs. And these computer programs are called an applicant tracking system. So most likely, all of your resume applications that you're doing is online, and your resume is going through this program to see if the skills match up, if you have the correct keywords, if you have the correct information, depending on the job description that the position that you applied for. And if your resume does not match up with those keywords or skills, it's automatically rejected and nobody sees your resume. So one, we want to make sure that our resume is passing that 10-second test. And two, we want to make sure our resume is also passing that applicant tracking system, so it can get to a hiring manager. It can be viewed by a real person. So in order to get past the applicant tracking system and have a good balanced resume, we want to make sure that we are maintaining that balance. So the information that's presented on your resume needs to be nice, neat, and concise, consistent, and very easy to read. You want to focus on your strengths, your accomplishments, and how well they transfer to the job that you are wanting and applying for. And the biggest thing, formatting is key. The best way to have your resume is very plain, and we'll go over some samples, but it might look plain to you, but it's really what gets our students hired. It's what employers prefer. That way it's easier to read and they can go through and view all of their applications. Okay, so what do employers really want from candidates? So these are top 10 skills that are presented to us by NACE, which is an organization called the National Association of Colleges and Employers. And basically, they survey all of the employers and see what they are looking for, what they are recruiting for each year. So these are the top skills that they're looking for: teamwork, leadership, communication skills, problem solving, work ethic, analytical, quantitative, verbal, initiative, technical skills, detail oriented, flexibility, computer skills. These are all things that you will see on just about every job description. They're going to be looking for these top 11, I think. Yes, these top 11 skills. And we want to make sure that we are putting this on our resume as well. We don't just want to put, I'm an excellent communicator. Well, that's great, but how does that really show on your resume? You can instead state that you have, able to communicate with clients on current on current sales and promotions for the fiscal year. So that is a sentence that is very strong, it's structured, it tells the employer, one, that you can communicate, two, that you can sell and influence others, and three, it really shows your skills. It's better than just saying, I'm an excellent communicator. So yes, we want these skills on the resume, but you want to be detailed in how you show those skills. Oh, I missed one. I missed two. I hope that's it. Okay, so there are two types of resumes, basically, or two popular types of resumes. One, the most common and the one that we're going to go over is the chronological resume. And this type of resume is showing all of your recent work history, your recent experience, recent education. It's everything that is either your recent 3 work history, or it doesn't go past 10 years. Functional resume is a good format for maybe a seasoned candidate. You have a lot of experience that you want to focus on. Maybe you have some gaps of employment. Maybe you just have a lot of skills in different jobs or different areas that you want to highlight. So maybe a functional resume would, benefit you more. But we're going to go over and focus on chronological, because that is the basic one. That's most common. Everybody uses that one. Okay, so parts of a resume. First thing is we want to focus on your header. Your header is like your branding. You have your name, which is the biggest thing on your resume. It is no bigger than 20-point font, and everything else on your resume is either 11 or 12-point font. We want to make sure that we have the city and state that you currently reside in. Notice that we don't have our physical address. I would advise you to not put your physical address on your resume, especially if you're posting your resume on Monster, Indeed, those other Simply Hired, those big search engines. I would just have the city and state on your resume just for safety reasons. And then when you're submitting your resume to particular employers, you're going to be entering your address on the application anyway. So it's just better to protect you, not to put your physical address. Just the city and state is fine. We want to make sure that we have our current phone number. This is very important so the employer can contact you. So whenever maybe you update your telephone, you're sending all your contacts out to your family and friends, make sure you update your phone number on your resume. Because I've called candidates for different positions where their phone number was not updated. So make sure your phone number is updated on your resume. Also, make sure you have a professional email address. You want to make sure that it's maybe your first, last name at Gmail, Hotmail. The host doesn't matter if it's Gmail, Hotmail, Yahoo. Even if you use your Gator Mail, that's fine. You just want to make sure it's a professional email address. So let's say you don't have one, just go ahead and create one that's only used for professional use, or that you only use for education or job search. If you have a LinkedIn account, which hopefully all of you should, include your LinkedIn link on your resume. This redirects the employer to your LinkedIn page where, let's say you had to off some information regarding some previous work history. Well, your LinkedIn profile will show that history, and the employer will most likely view that link as well. So you can show the employer all of your experience through your LinkedIn link as well. Recommended fonts Times New Roman, Calibri, and Arial. Those aren't, the end all be all fonts. If you want to use something else, that's fine. Just make sure it's nothing too fancy, nothing that's really hard to read. We tend to use those 3 fonts because it's very easy to read. It prints very well. It does good with the applicant tracking systems as well. So I would just highly recommend you either using one of those 3 fonts. And if you do use one of those fonts, just pick one. You want to keep your resume consistent. Consistency is key. So the next section that we would have, or I'm sorry, the first section that we would have is a summary section. So this is for my professionals that have a lot of work experience, and you want to show that experience, then you can definitely have a summary section on your resume. So just summarizing your skills, maybe it's work related, maybe you had a big project in a class that you want to highlight on. Those are kind of the things that you can include. This section will be the section that will alter the most on your resume because your summary section needs to change depending on the job that you apply for. So you want to make sure if you are using a summary section that you're updating it to the positions that you're applying for. So here's an example of that summary section. And the header that we have here is summary of qualifications. That's fine. It can be summary of skills, summary of qualifications, just summary, whatever looks best to you is fine. Those are just options that you can do. So right here, we have a specific position that maybe we are applying for or that we have experience in. Including the number of years that you have experience in this position or in that position as well is good as well. So let's say, for example, you have a, let's say, for example, you're applying for a job that requires 3 years of experience. We want to make sure that we put on here that we have 3 years of experience. If we do, we don't want to falsify information. So if we have at least 3 years of experience, we want to do so. Really quick, if you guys have any questions, make sure you drop your questions in the Q&A box on the bottom of the screen. I'm going it through, and at the end of the session, I'm going to answer all of your questions. So just be sure to put all of your questions in the Q&A box, and I will go through and answer your questions at the end of the session. Okay. So on the last sentence, or also included, we have some keywords: management, installations, trainings, computer systems management, installations, training. Maybe those are some words that were found on the job description and that we are plugging into our resume. So that's how you can plug in those keywords from your resume or from the job description to your resume, depending on, of course, what you're applying for. All right, so a lot of people would have an objective at the top of the screen as the first section. I would recommend you taking off an objective. Objectives are obsolete now and not needed. Now, maybe 5-10 years objectives were all the rage. Everybody was putting an objective on your resume, but now it's kind of old and outdated. And really, the objective is just telling the employers what you want. And if you're applying for a job, they already know that you want a full-time position with so-and-so company. You can put your skills section, summary section there instead, or if you do not have a lot of experience in that field, we're just going to start off with our education section. And this is for my students who don't have a lot of experience in the field just yet. We're going to be highlighting that education section. So first thing that we want to make sure that our education is in the formal way. So bachelor, make sure it's singular, not plural. So Bachelor of Business Administration in whatever your major is. If you have a minor, you can put that as well. And for my MBA students, it's Master of Business Administration. So it's always singular, even though in our lingo, in our verbiage, we say bachelors as a plural. Written, it's in its formal way, it's singular. And then if you have an associate's degree, so you see, I just said associates. If you have an associate degree, you want to make sure that you put that as well. So that can give you experience, and that can give you things to pull from as well, depending on what you did to get your associate's degree. You can put your GPA, but only if it's a 3.0 or higher. Anything that is less, it could possibly hurt you than help you than putting it on your resume. So we recommend you only putting your GPA if it's a 3.0 or higher. So that's not to say if your GPA is not a 3.0, you have absolutely no chance of gaining an employment. Everybody's going to pass over you. That's not true. Employers look at GPA, but they also look at the person. Employers are not hiring GPAs. Employers are hiring people. So just because you don't have a 3.0 is not the end all be all either. So another section that you can add after your education is any honors or awards that you might have. So if you received a scholarship, putting that on your resume. If you received an award from an organization, you can definitely put that on your resume. That's valuable. This is an optional section, so you don't have to put this on your resume. Okay, let's get on to experience. So right now we have our header, which is our name and personal contact information. We have our summary if it applies to us. Then we have our education, and next we'll have our experience. So your experience can be internships, co-ops, full-time, part-time positions. Even your volunteer experience can go under your experience if it's related to the position. Sometimes I have students who have a lot of experience. Some is related to the job, and maybe they had a part-time job in retail or something that they still want to include on their resume, just so the employer can see that they had a consistent employment. So with that, I would suggest having a relevant experience section with all of maybe your internships or volunteer experience that's related to the job that you're applying for. And then you can have other experience with any part-time information or jobs that are not related to the position that you are applying for. So here's how the formatting will look. And I have the winning formula listed on here as well. We start off with an action word, the objective, and then we want to make sure we include the outcome. So for example, if we look at the description of this sample job, we see that it starts out with a strong action word. So aided, scheduled, recommended, received, supported. Those are those strong action words. And then next, we start out with the objective. What were we doing? What was our responsibility? So we aided customers with returns. We scheduled in-home services. We recommended new products. And then what are the outcomes? Resulting in 23% increase in revenue. resulting in, let's see, achieved awards for upselling products. So we want to be sure to tell the employer what were the outcomes as well. Anytime that you can include any type of numbers on your resume is very, very valuable. Employers want to know how you made the company money, saved the company money, or made a process maybe more efficient, which hence saves the company money, it makes the company money. So whenever you can include any numbers on your resume, you definitely want to put that information on there. So let me stop really quick. There's a couple of questions pertaining experience. So for experience, should you add minor jobs part-time like waiter or barista? Yes. So I definitely recommend you putting that information because that shows those top 10 skills employers are looking for: able to communicate effectively, detail-oriented, multitasking, though it shows those skills as well. So definitely putting those minor jobs on your resume is valuable. It also shows the employer that you have worked. You've been in a professional organization. You had the responsibility of showing up to work on time, being professional in that job as well. So it gives you more experience than someone who does not have any previous work experience. Next question, really quick. Does sports awards classify under awards for leadership? So you only want to put any type of sports awards on your resume if you are one, still in high school, or you just graduated high school and you're still in your first semester of college. That is okay to put high school information on there, but it is typically after your first semester in college is when you would start to take off all high school information. So that's including high school diploma. You can possibly get away with awards. You can still have your high school jobs on there if that's the only thing that you have right now. But when you are developing your professional career, then that information will slowly be replaced by current information, current things that you're doing now. Okay, so one more. How do you add self-employment on your resume? So that really depends on what that self-employment entailed. If you had a particular, let's say you were a photographer and you want to show those skills, you can put whatever your photography business name was. You can put owner as position, and then you will go down like any other job and put the job duties, the things that you had to do, any programs or things that was required with that position. And last question regarding experience, how far should we go back? Oh, I'm sorry, how far back should we put experience? Is it 10 years? So yes, you don't want to go past 10 years of experience in your resume, or you do not want to put your, you don't want to go past your third job, if that makes sense. So you want to only put your most recent 3 positions or 10 years back. So whichever one hits first. So that's how we keep our resume current. So good questions. Keep them coming. Like I said, I will be monitoring the chat box. So all the other questions I will get to at the end. Okay. So next section that we'll have is our skills section. And this is a very important section to have on your resume. You want to show the employer if you have any language skills, any technical skills, you want to display them on your resume. So you want to make sure that you have, that you're only listing skills that you are proficient in. So if you have any language skills, you need to be fluent in those languages. So you don't want to put on your resume that you can speak a little Spanish or French. You want to be fluid in those languages. And fluent means you're able to speak conversational speaking, and typically writing. But in Houston, in this area, a lot of employers are really just looking for conversational speaking. So if you have that experience, depending on what the job description entails, then you can put that on there. And then we don't want to forget about any computer-related skills, Microsoft Excel, Word, PowerPoint, any program-specific skills, Java, C++, QuickBooks, Adobe. So depending on what the job is looking for, that's going to reflect on your skills section as well. So see how I'm just going back to this imaginary job description just so we can make sure that we have everything on here. That's what we're going to have to be doing. Next, activities. So for the question earlier about high school related awards, you can put this under activities as well. So maybe you had a leadership position, or you had a position with that organization or with that club where you had a lot of responsibilities. This is a good way to display that information on your resume. So if you held an office in a sorority or an organization, yeah, on here, sports teams, those type of skills employers really look for. So I would highly recommend you putting that on your activity section. Even if you don't have experience with an activity, you can include volunteer experience under your activities as well. So let's say you volunteer for the Houston Food Bank or with a organization on campus, you can definitely put that on your resume. Employers are looking for well-rounded candidates, so they want to see if you are giving back to the community or what you're doing other than just going to school. Okay, let me just check the questions really quick. Okay, so let me answer a couple. So let me answer one question that's pertaining to the skills section that we just went over. Is it necessary to list all Microsoft Office programs, or just Microsoft Office is okay? So what we want to do is we want to look at that job description. So going back to that applicant tracking system, if the job description says Microsoft Office, then that's what we want to put. If the job description says Microsoft, Excel, Word, PowerPoint, then that's what we want to put. The applicant tracking system looks for information that is based on what is on the job description. It doesn't deviate from that. It doesn't look at synonyms. It doesn't look at similarities. It looks at what is on the job description and what is on your resume. So you want to make sure that you're putting the exact information that's on the job description on your resume. Okay. Okay, so again, if you have your hand raised for a question, you can drop them in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, and I'm going through and answering all of your questions as well. So if I don't get to your question right now, I do have a Q&A section at the end, and we will get to all of your questions before our time is up. So don't worry. Hopefully, yeah, we have plenty of time. So drop your questions in the Q&A section, and I will get to them. Okay, I have another poll. So after I have talked a little bit about tailoring your resume, do you currently tailor your resume for each job that you apply for? And there's no right or wrong answer. Nobody will see your poll. Okay, it looks like we have everyone. Okay, so looks like most of you guys do tailor your resume for each job that you apply for. Good job. If you're not, I would highly recommend you tailoring your resume. This just shows the employer specific skills and specific information related to the job that you're applying for, and it will get you past those pesky applicant tracking systems. So you definitely want to make sure that you are tailoring your resume to each of those jobs that you're applying for. I know it's kind of a hassle and it's kind of a lot of work. However, what you can do is you can have a base resume that has all of your information on there. And when you are applying for different jobs, you can tailor your resume off that base resume. So maybe you're just adding or taking away some information, adjusting your keywords. If you're applying within the same area or in the same industry, then your resume shouldn't be, night and day difference. It's just should be small tailoring in your education. I'm sorry, not your education, your experience, your summary, if you have it, and your skills section, just to reflect what the employer is looking for. Okay, and of course, do I need to tailor my resume for each job? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. All right, let's go over some resume fails, just so you can be aware on what not to do on your resume. So first things first, we never want to put our picture on our resume. Never, ever, ever. This can lead to discrimination. So we want to keep all of that information off. Also, we want to refrain from using pretty or cursive fonts. So sometimes it can be hard to read, and we don't know the recruiter and if they're able to read those fonts. So we want to make sure everything is nice and easy to read. So we want to make sure our email is professional. Brittany Bombshell Binker is not a professional email address. Make sure that we're including our major on our resume, because just saying that we have a bachelor's of business is great, but what are you majoring in? You don't want to leave the employer asking any questions on your resume. We already said no objective. Summary needs to be 1 to 2 sentences, and your work experience needs to be detailed. Follow that formula that I gave you. So it is action word, objective, plus outcomes. You want to follow that to give the employer the most detailed information. Another thing that I want you guys to pay attention to is typos. This is the leading mistake that I see on resumes and cover letters all the time. We're human, it happens. Just have somebody read over your resume, a fresh pair of eyes. It could be a classmate, your parents, a career coach, just somebody that has not seen your resume to look over it to make sure everything is correct. So I have a little activity for us. I want you guys to go through and tell me, or you're not going to be able to tell me, but go through and count how many errors are in this little job description that I copied and pasted. So I'm going to give you maybe 10 seconds to go through and find the errors. Let me see, I haven't seen this in a while, so let me see if I can remember all the errors. Okay, yeah, I got them. All right, do you guys have them? Let's see. So here are all the errors. You want to make sure that you are spelling everything correctly. We do not want to use any abbreviations on our resume. So you see where it says H-Town, we just want to spell out Houston. We want to make sure we're using the correct bands. We also want to be sure that we are using no symbols. So the little and sign tricks everybody. Nobody counts that, but we want to spell out everything. No symbols, no abbreviations. We want to make sure we spell it out. The only exception to that rule is if the job description has a particular program that they use and they use that abbreviation for it. So maybe SAP, C++. Let me try to think of another one. I can't think of another one right now, but if they have an abbreviation for those particular programs, then that's okay. Everything else we spell out. Okay, so some resources for you guys. So if you are a current UHD student, you are able to use this website called VMock.com/Davies. It is a free website to use, and that is basically our online resume reviewer. So you will go create an account, upload your resume, and it will go through and critique your resume and help you build it up. Of course, our career coaches, we're still here to help you with any minute details, but the format and how it's laid out, VMock would really help you with that. Another website that I stand behind and rejoice its praises is called jobscan.co. So JobScan is another resume builder website. However, it helps you cater your resume for each position that you apply for. So it's going to go through and tell you, okay, based on the job description that you uploaded, you're missing these keywords, you're missing this information, and here's how you can put it on your resume. So it is a free account. You get 5 free scans a month, I believe. Everything else after that you would have to pay for, but it's a really good resource to help you to learn how to catch those keywords, as well as our website, uhd.edu/career, COB career. We have resume samples, cover letter samples. We have a list of action words, all for our MBA and BBA students. Even if you're an alumni, you can still use those resources for free. That's on our website. Okay, so let's hop into the Q&A, see what questions we have. And if you have any questions, be sure to drop them in the Q&A box, and I will go through and try to answer them all. Okay, I'm getting my MBA to make a career pivot, and I need a refresh on my resume and job search. So with COVID-19, I'm wondering how the job market will be impacted for those who are currently seeking. So Awesome question. This is a very unique time that we are seeing. Jobs are being placed on hold. Positions are or I'm sorry, HR, they're freezing a lot of their hiring. So the market is a lot more competitive. So using the resources that UHD has to offer, as well as JobScan and VMock, would really help you stand out. So you can always contact us for us to help you cater your resume to those particular positions that you want to apply for. But the market is very competitive, and I would also recommend you sprucing up your LinkedIn account. Rely on a lot of networking. There's a lot of networking, online networking events that are happening. So even though a position currently, or a position, a lot of positions out there, there might be a few positions that are available in what is called the hidden job market. And that is discovered when you do a lot of networking, when you attend those online events. So with our Career Center, we have employers that are doing online virtual info sessions and recruitment sessions all the time. So we just had Reynolds and Reynolds earlier this week. We had the Peace Corps. We have Apple that's coming up next week. So definitely use those resources as well. Don't just rely on the job market or LinkedIn or the job search. Also use your networking skills as well. Okay. Should you add that you are a certified notary? If so, what section? Yes, you can. So that can be in a section called certifications. So you'll put that you are a public notary of Texas and the expiration date, or when your notary expires, and you can put that as well. So any certifications that you have obtained, you can either put when it expires, or if it doesn't expire, when you obtained it. And that section can go anywhere after your experience. So what's usually what I call the siblings, what sections are together is your summary, if you have it, your education, and then your experience. Those are the siblings. They always travel together. They don't move. So anything after that, it's kind of whatever looks best to you. Okay. If you've only attended a few years of college, is it appropriate to put some college or stick with high school diploma under your education section? With this question, if you are currently attending college, then you can put your projected graduation date. If you are maybe attending a few classes here and there, you can still put your expected graduation date if you're still currently working on your college degree. I wouldn't put your high school diploma if you are not a recent high school graduate. So if you are currently working on your college degree, even if it's on and off, you can still put that expected graduation date, and employers automatically assume for you to get into college, you have to have some sort of high school diploma, GED, something like that. So they already assume that once you put your college information on there. Okay, I'm in the middle of a career pivot. Share tips on how my experience should I'm sorry, share tips on how to make my experience sound to my new career. Okay, so depending on, you know, what that career is, if you have any, let's say, education experience related, so you want to try to see what kind of experience you have that is related to your new career that you are working towards. So if you are in an MBA program, working towards that particular career, put some of the classes that you have completed. Put some coursework experience on your resume. What projects do you have that are related to the career that you are, you know, going towards? Do you have any activities that's related to the job that you're applying for? Any volunteer work? So those are the type of information and how you can display that on your resume. Okay, great questions. Can you describe how one would list their MBA if they have done 1 year and earned a certificate but haven't finished the second year? Okay, so your MBA, you would always list the most recent first. So your resume always lists most recent first, then your education, your activities, your work experience, it's always what you're currently working on and then descends or goes backwards. So since you're currently completing your MBA, getting your degree, then that's what you'll put first. So Master of Business Administration, and then you'll have your expected graduation date. And then you can also have your concentration. So if you're concentrating in HR or management or supply chain, whatever, you can say concentration accounting. And then under that, you'll have the MBA certificate. So whatever it's called, if it's called just the Master of Business Administration certificate in, you know, accounting. And then you'll have the month and year or the date that you received that certification. And then under that, your undergrad degree. And then if you want to, you can also have your associates if you have that as well. But that would be, you know, the last thing that's listed in your education section. If you're an alumni, is there someone available to review your resume? Yes. So our services is open to alumni as well, forever, as long as you are an alumni of UHD. You have full access to our Career Center, and you can always attend any career events that we have on campus, career fairs, employer informationals. You can always attend those events as well. So you have full access to our services for free. Okay, how are we doing on time? All right, we have 9 minutes. I'm trying to get through the rest of your questions. Okay, how many certifications are too many? I have Google Ads certifications for marketing. How many is too many? So I would say it needs to be related to the job, the area. So if you have all of these certifications with Google Ad, and maybe you are a marketing major, these certifications would help you because you would be using what you've learned from that certification in your job. So as long as it's related to the position in which you're applying for, it's good. You just don't want to have a certification on there for basket weaving and it has nothing to do with your resume, or it has nothing to do with the job that you're applying for. That's when I'll say, okay, you probably don't need this basket weaving certification because it's not adding value to your resume. Okay, will a replay of this session be sent out? So yes, It will be posted on our website at uhd.edu/COB career, where you can access the full replay of this session. Is there a recommended limit to how many bullet points one can have under the experience section? So each job is recommended to have no less than 3 and no more than like 6. A lot of research says no more than 5 to 7. I think 6 is kind of the sweet spot because you don't want to ramble on. You don't want to have too much information. So you want to be between 3 and 6. Okay, we already answered that question. Do you have any tips for cover letters? Yes. Always update your cover letters to each job that you apply for. Always. There's no such thing as a basic cover letter. If you have a basic cover letter, employers are not reading them because it's not specific to the job that you're applying for. If you have a header that says like dear sir or ma'am, or to whom it may concern, it's most likely your cover letter is being looked over. You want to address it to either the head of that department or doing a little bit of research on LinkedIn to finding their information, putting those keywords, explaining your skills that's related to the job position. So those are kind of my top tips. Always cater it to the jobs that you're applying for. A lot of a lot of students ask me if cover letters are necessary, and a lot of the employers that we've talked to, they're 50-50. Some love them, some hate them. So I say it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. So whenever there is a section for you to upload a cover letter, always do so. I mean, the worst thing that could happen is they don't read it, okay? Of course, our Career Center, our career coaches are here to help you guys with that as well. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the next few questions, and the next slide or the last slide, you see all of the contact information for the College of Business Career Center, my email address. You can jot that down if you have any questions after the session, and our social media pages when we share all of our events and things that are happening. Okay, do you recommend adding social media handles on resumes, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, if professional? So LinkedIn, definitely. Let's say you are a marketing major and you have a online portfolio, so you have like a professional LinkedIn page, or if you have a professional Instagram page, or if you have a professional Instagram page that documents your your work history and things that you do on the job, then yeah, you can add that. You can definitely, or I recommend you definitely adding at least your LinkedIn profile. If nothing else, have that LinkedIn profile on your resume, and it'll be at the top in your header. So your header includes your name first, your city and state where you lived in second, your phone number third, email address fourth, and then after that, you'll have that LinkedIn URL and Instagram. I would say keep it to LinkedIn or Instagram, because Instagram, you can, it can be displayed a little bit more professionally and more aesthetically pleasing than Facebook. Okay, so where can I get personal help to get my VMock score above a 85? So you can reach out to my email that I listed. You can reach out to me and we can set up an appointment and we can look at your LinkedIn profile, your VMock profile to see what is going on with that. Okay, this question is not exactly about a resume. I recently read that unless you have achieved a doctorate, you should not include your professional credentials after your last name. So that, it all depends. You'll read articles that says, yes, put your BBA, put your MBA after your name, and then you'll hear organizations say, don't do it. It all depends on what you like. There's no right or wrong. And now if this is on a resume, I would only put your credentials if you do have a doctorate on your resume. But anywhere else, it's really up to you. You're gonna see a lot of research and a lot of opinions going back and forth on that. How long is too long for a bullet point? You don't want to go more than 2 lines, not 2 sentences, because each sentence will have its own bullet point. You want to go 2 lines. So anything that's more than 2 lines for a bullet point, you can break that bullet point up into 2 sections. 2 bullet points. Okay. How does one avoid potential discrimination from having our picture on LinkedIn, but not on our resume? So with LinkedIn, there's a whole lot of privacy settings that you can set up if you don't want your picture viewed if someone is not connected to you. But it's going to happen whether we like it or not. And it happens all the time when maybe employers look up information about us, and they just Google us and find our information on LinkedIn. It's bound to happen, and unfortunately it does. And if it does happen and you don't get a call back for that position, then maybe that's for the best as well, because you don't want to be in that type of environment anyway. So if it does happen, just think of it as, of course you probably wouldn't know, but just think of it as a, blessing in disguise. But you really can't avoid it. You really can't, because people will do what people do. So yeah, so with your LinkedIn headshot, you just want to make sure that it's professional, that it's a picture against a white background or a solid background, and that you have a clear shot of you and only you in that picture, and that you're, smiling in that photo as well. Okay, so this session is being recorded, and it will be put on our website as well as emailed to you through your Gator mail. So be on the lookout for that. So yeah, if you have any questions, if you want to schedule an appointment with me, you can do that through your Gator Hired account. You can schedule your own appointment and hop on my calendar, or you can email me and I can schedule you as well. So that looks like those are all the questions that we have. If I did not get to your question, or if I somehow skipped over it, I hope I didn't, you can always email me your question as well. Email is the best form of contact right now, but all of our phones do work at the, in our offices. So if you do call me, our phones do work as well. So hope you guys enjoyed this session. Be safe, and thank you guys for tuning in.